mean, of course I wasn't born a criminal. I mean, right out the womb, that shit is it's crazy. You know what I mean? I know you got people, these kids now be trying to act like, but nah, like I was like, I was a kid, you know what I mean? Regular shit, just doing regular shit, you know what I mean? On top of, like the little mischief and all that, like, I would do shit like you throwing snowballs at people car and shit. You ain't thinking as a kid like, yo, I'm damaging somebody's property and no shit like that. Like you thinking you having fun and shit like that. And then also too, like it's just little kid shit. And like one time I remember me and my cousin and one of my friends was like his pops had just bought a new car, and we was throwing rocks at each other like they was like ducked off behind the car, and I was like more so out in the open, and we throwing rocks at each other back and forth like playfully on some playing around shit, and one of the rocks bust the window. I don't know who. I ain't gonna say I did the shit. One of the rocks hit the window and bust the window, so his pops came out and shit, and he took us back around the corner to my crib and shit, which became a whole bigger issue later on for me and my cousin and shit. I'll get into that, but like he over there like, yo, who gonna pay for this shit? Blah blah. Blah. My mom's like, yo, hold up, what you talking about? They was all out there throwing rocks. But anyway, they resolved it as adults. We got disciplined as kids or whatever, and like that that became a bigger issue for me and my cousin because like my crib, like my mom's house, was like one of them houses where like people, it wasn't no hangout, but people would come there. It was always like card games going on and gambling, and people would be there smoking a little herb and all that, whatever. You know what I mean? My aunts, my uncles, whatever. You know what I mean? Different little people and shit. So them even bringing him, his pops, even bringing us to the crib, just was like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like we knew, like it was instilled in us from a young age, like drilled into the motherfuckers, like yo, don't be bringing nobody here, don't be bringing none of your friends here. This is, you know what I mean? Like you just knew it was just a different vibe, like it was different, like motherfuckers wasn't supposed. Everybody ain't supposed to be exposed to what's going on behind these closed doors and shit. So you knew that, and us getting into trouble out in the streets and having anybody bring us home, let alone like if it's some police, it's even worse. But just whoever, like the neighbor around the corner, boom, with whoever ain't supposed to be there. You know what I mean? What what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like you. So we knew, so that became a whole nother issue. We got in trouble twice, basically, for that shit. But shit like that was that's what being around that, like these card games, because it was a lot of people. Like you would see a lot of interesting characters as kids. Like you hear people names, constantly hear people names and shit. Then next thing you know, they sitting in your living room playing cards and shit. You like, oh, that's what they was talking about. You know what I mean? Or you like me, my little cousins. We sitting back absorbing because all these card games. They sitting around drinking, smoking, doing shit. So we able to sit around up under that shit and absorb the dialogue and the the actions of the people and just get information. You know what I mean? Shit that we might be seeing but not really understanding fully. Like, oh shit, they selling motherfucking herb in them little yellow envelopes. They rolling that shit up in bamboo. That's what they smoking it in. And oh, this motherfucker right here is sniff coke, and they do this and this is like we peeping all of this shit. You know what I mean? As young people right in this closed in environment, and then going out into the street, you see some of these same characters that was at your house. You see what they doing out in the street. You know what I mean? Like they have reputations out in the street, so you would see them and you bump into them and all that. And then on top of that, the real like launch for me was like my grandfather. Like my grandfather was like a dope fiend. You know what I mean? Not a heroin. Like he was a heroin addict, and not like how you see these people today or what they be depicting mostly online. You see these motherfuckers like all curled up somewhere, sick, can't. You know what I mean? Like my grandfather wasn't that. Like he was getting to a bag. Like and all his friends that was fucking with heroin back. Most heroin addicts back in the days, like they was getting to a bag. Like my grandfather was a grifter. He was into scams and shit. Not the shit they doing today, but close to it. You know what I mean? Like and he was doing that type of shit. He was always telling niggas like, yo, get some money in your like what are you doing standing still? Like get some money in your pocket. Like so he was like the motivating factor to the shit. And he kept the world new for us too. Like he ain't try to dress the world up and none of that shit. So we knew exactly what we was heading into and he would put us on a different little shit and all that. Like one of the plays he put us on to, like one of the early plays I remember, like we would get like a champagne bottle and like put like ginger ale in it or some shit like that, or piss if you had to, and get a brown paper bag and put that shit in a brown paper bag and go down to Midtown and you walk around the players, you bump into one of the tourists, you know what I mean, and drop the bottle. And then you just start like you start speaking like, yo, what the fuck is you doing? Like, watch where the fuck you going. You looking around, you paying the fuck shit. Like, yo, that was a $400 bottle of champagne. You gotta pay for that shit. I'm a messenger. I'm supposed to take this shit over here. Like, what the fuck? And niggas are shook. They out of town. They in the city with their family. They don't know what the fuck going on. So them niggas fuck around, pay you off $400-500 real quick. That's a quick little lick and shit. But in the midst of that, you seeing all of this other shit going on down here. Like motherfuckers is walking around, all these business people, these white motherfuckers in business suits, they got Rolexes on. You seeing niggas snatching rollies off niggas' arms. Motherfucking like these white people, like you seeing these niggas snatching rollies off these white business people's arms and these women and shit, they walking around with diamonds, niggas snatching that shit. Plus back in the days too, they would have like phones and shit. Like they might have 4 phones set up like near a corner and shit. So everybody on the phone and everybody waiting. All these business people, they trying to take care of whatever they doing. They get trying to get on the phone. And as they doing that, you got lurkers like motherfuckers is just scoping niggas out like, oh yo, she got this, he got that. So they waiting for people to get on the phone, and boom, they hitting their pocket or snatching a ring off somebody's finger, or snatching a chain off somebody's neck, or you know what I mean, snatching, you know what I mean, whatever. Like they all off guard and be crews. Like you start peeping like, oh, it's crews. They working together. They following motherfuckers into the Diamond District. You know what I mean? They following little people into the Diamond District and shit. They snatching whole bags of diamonds and jewelry and gold. So you looking at this shit like, yo, fuck this little $400-500 bumping into tourists. Like, this is the play right here. You know what I mean? So like you gradually just start graduating from there. Like honest, that's what happened with me. Real, like that's what popped off for me.